Did anybody see the
Everybody
things?
armed to record. See what things?
What's that? Oh, the things that I put in the show. Excuse me, show notes.
Which episode?
This one.
So we have there's
Episode 3.
Okay. Is it not loading?
Only 2 op.
Oh, here it is. Okay, sorry, it wasn't loading.
So no one saw them.
You know why I haven't seen them.
Oh,
I
I just put them in there for screening ahead of time. I just thought they were interesting. I don't know if they're going to be useful for the context we're talking about things, or if they're even accurate.
absolutely not. This is like when you shared a JavaScript thing on Stack Overflow and it's incorrect.
Alright, hold
It
on.
was like completely different.
Instant beratement. And
Okay, hold on. Quiet on set. Dang it. Hold on. How do I do this?
Because you're holding it. You hold the plastic. There you go. Nope, hold the plastic.
I am.
Not terrible.
That's in
Flip the mouthpiece up, flip the nipple, and hold it by that. Now do it.
Right.
Very good.
Like it.
Did you record that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we got it.
So you got me saying flip the nipple?
100%.
All right.
You can see when I was doing it because it peaked.
This is staying in.
Yeah, like all that's every
Oh, wow.
like that's the good one. That yeah. Because this is almost like an actual soundstage. We're getting there.
It's more of a soundstage than your old apartment.
I don't know. I think the old apartment actually had better sound isolation than this room because it was just bigger
Well, we were, yeah, and
and we were further apart.
We were in a more random configuration.
Yes.
Yeah.
A more random.
It was
seating
definitely. Oh,
arrangement.
I just did it. It was definitely more comfortable.
Well,
Like,
I missed
well, yeah,
the-
that couch.
Actually,
suction.
I missed Matthew's apartment because I missed your rocking chair.
Yeah.
That was legit. I enjoyed that.
Which
I'm sorry I can't accommodate a rocking chair in the studio.
Okay, I forget
what
you.
rocking
All right.
chair did we have at the?
The wooden one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, is the one to the, if you were walking in the door to the left of the couch.
Yes.
Because I sat in that, and then Nathan, I think you sat in the basket chair,
I believe so.
and then John sat on the couch. I think you
John
and
wasn't there. Brett sat on the couch.
Correct.
Brett sat on the couch. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That was one of the few episodes I actually gave you guys the recorder and said, "Don't break it."
Oh, yeah.
Official show lore stated that you had kicked us out of the studio, but we managed to like pilfer the.
And someday,
recorder.
the alleged recording that resulted from that may see the light of day.
I mean, it's in the archives.
It is in the archives.
I actually do need to get a section on the backup server,
Ah,
just like called
yes.
like the archives,
The
and just
vault.
dump
I
all that
control
stuff in
a
there.
piece of the archives as well as the uploading process.
Oh, that. You know what?
Kidding.
If
Hold
we
on.
go back and listen to
Oh,
those,
God, passwords are getting changed.
I'm already getting into the admin center now.
Permissions are being revoked and passwords are being changed as we speak.
That's weird. No one can open the SharePoint now.
I don't know what's going to be more surprising if we go back and listen to those. How bad the quality is, or how relatively good the quality is.
I think because I listened to a couple of them, it's overall the quality. It sounds like definitely a first attempt. It's not terrible,
It's adequate.
but it's not. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not
comparative-
that bad, but it's not
comparatively. I mean, we can't really say that our quality has been all that amazing for quite a while because we've only recently got most of the kinks worked out.
We had there were some flubs here and there.
I mean, I did listen to the last recording. I didn't listen to the raw. I really should have listened to the raw because I listened to your edit, and it sounded like significantly better. But I do want to listen to the raw and just kind of hear what are some of the other things we might need to do, either acoustically in here or potentially put like a couple of like noise gates, not gates. Use the EQ and take out a couple of frequencies of the
Yeah.
resonance of the room.
Tell you-
Acoustically.
Yeah.
Acoustically.
Yes.
Like at a cute angle.
Okay.
I can already tell you. I can already tell you what we need as far as
you need to
audio
be a little
treatment.
bit more isosceles over there.
Yeah. The
Now this is being acute. Now I'm being up to.
as far as sound treatment, we all need a big foam block in front of us. That's
No, we
need
need.
big foam cubicles in between
I
us.
need to actually build the better sound panels and put clouds in. It would help significantly.
Do they make
Now we're gonna-
translucent foam,
No,
like see-through
No,
foam?
because that is
that also defeats the purpose
I was
of
about to
what
say
it's
that-
trying to do.
that's contrary to the principle of foam.
I mean, you
well,
can.
okay, but
you
see,
can, you
a
can do
material
gel.
that blocks sound,
Yeah, gel.
but lets light pass through, so I can still
Clear
see you
gel.
when I'm yelling at you. That's the
Gel.
So
yes.
we just need some ballistic blocks.
No, we need some like clear water bags in between us. Because like
It would look like
liquid
we're
would
recording in
block
an
like,
aquarium.
sound has a trouble passing through liquid.
But liquid also has its own resonancy, and it's
True, so it'd add an ambiance to the sound as
ooh.
well as being cool.
I don't think- I don't think
it'd
the
be like looking through fish tanks.
I don't think the table is rated for that kind of weight.
Only one way to find out.
There's only
I
one way to
know.
find
No,
out.
no. Listen, this house is also like it's built on. It's elevated.
Hopes and dreams.
No, that it's not a.
Probably should bleep that.
Yeah, yep. Yep.
uh,
So when are we gonna press the button?
it's
Now that you said it, he's got to wait like 5 more minutes.
that is
true.
very true. You don't say that statement.
Are you gonna bring some energy to the intro, or do I?
I'm gonna bring whatever I want to bring to the intro, sir. That is the duty of the host. That I'm the one who determines what the bar is, and today the bar right now is slightly bent, cattywampus, and a little sad.
That's unfortunately quite accurate.
That's a cute.
But it's it's actually leaning a little more towards obtuse, but it will become acute in a little bit. What are you doing?
Welcome to the Hostility in the Morning podcast. I'm Steven, not your host. Joined here today by
Matthew.
No,
Nathan.
I'm your host, John, joined here today by.
He said not your host. He had it right.
I'm aware. Welcome to Hostility in the Morning, where we are somehow becoming an AI podcast.
It's a hostile takeover.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
who's doing the taking over, us or the AI?
Well, it's obvious. It's taking our job. It somehow has infiltrated this podcast. It's the only thing we talk about now, and eventually, it's just going to get enough information about us that it's going to regurgitate. It's going to be a never-ending cycle. Do you know it's us talking about AI, or was it the AI talking about us talking about AI?
What if the AI comes up with a scheme to where it does what you say, but then makes us end up helping it do that thing, and we become the assistants to the AI?
I think we just proved the Matrix, in some really weird way that now technically exists.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Thanks, I hate it.
not really, no, because we're not living in the late 90s. So,
Or we could be, because again, that was peak society, and then collapses have happened during that period, and they have been getting. Think about it this way.
are we in the alternate universe?
No.
90s?
Think about it this way.
I don't like that.
Every societal collapse that has happened in current Western society, obviously, I'm saying that word a lot.
Sure.
Think about that collapse as either data corruption or potentially, think about it even this way, we've hit a back pressure event, and that's them doing remediation is they have to cause chaos
Turn it off,
to
turn
fix
it
the
back on
problem.
again.
Yes, exactly. But because the hardware is degrading faster than it can be replenished and replaced,
So, are you trying to tell me that
our
the-
existence
that
in the
the- our-
Matrix,
the
yes.
AI overlords that are managing the Matrix are as poor at managing their infrastructure as our clients? Are you
Yes,
trying to
yes,
tell
that's
me
exactly,
that this
yes.
practice has propagated all the way up to a singularity AI?
I think so, because you have to remember that AI
Are they
was
only focused on sales as well?
For those listening, John just kicked away from the table and is rocking back and forth in a fetal position.
I can't comment on that. You know I can't comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah, it broke him.
That didn't
We're-
take long.
We're 10 minutes in. Woo!
Nathan, obviously we're talking about AI, but can you please,
Get this
give
train back on the track.
yes, get the train at least start waving people back into the station. Take it away.
All right. So we are talking about AI.
Agricultural industrialization.
I was wondering who put that in there. That answers that question. We are not talking
missed
about agricultural industrialization. However, Matthew, could you please add that to the suggestions tab?
Well,
Because
I mean,
we
in
can do that
in
later.
a way,
That
we
topic.
technically are, because again, a lot of the
We could go
top
down
tech
that rabbit
officials are currently purchasing up a lot of the farmlands right now. So, I mean, in a way, sure.
If we back up to the Matrix talk, like if we are powering the Matrix, we are the agriculture that's being industrialized.
Do we need to restart this episode?
No, too far in. We're too far in. This is good content. I know it's paining you, but it's still good content.
Again,
The
you
derailing
said-
will continue until
As
morale
you said,
improves.
John, we're just becoming an AI podcast, so this will just become another episode.
This is the hallucinations.
Oh my gosh, here's something I haven't done before. Hold on, continue. I have a way around this.
Okay, so AI is artificial intelligence. It's a thing. Now, there are multiple AIs. The AI is not just one specific thing. There are different models. There's different companies that are creating models, different companies that are training models, et cetera, et cetera. The definition of, let's see, where's the question? So, because this is the AI episode, I went ahead and asked AI, several AIs, to tell me, quote, in 1 or 2 paragraphs, explain what AI is and how it works. I asked that I directed that to ChatGPT, Grok 2, and Gemini. You are welcome to ask your AI of choice that question, and I would encourage you to do so. And maybe throw in the comments interesting points that the AI explains to you about themselves. The ChatGPT, just very quickly, artificial intelligence, AI, is a branch of computer science that enables machines to simulate human intelligence, including learning, problem solving, decision making, and language understanding. AI systems use algorithms and vast amounts of data to recognize patterns, make predictions, and improve their performance over time. There are different types of AI, ranging from rule-based systems to advanced machine learning models, such as neural networks, which mimic the way the human brain processes information. I will stop there. Does anyone have anything to add to the portion of what is AI?
I think that was a good summary.
Because honestly, this is not a topic that I am in any way, shape, form, or fashion even moderately knowledgeable in. Literally everybody here at this table knows more about this than I do. Because I only really started digging into this maybe less than 6 months ago. So for those of you who have been into AI since the beginning, I was watching a YouTube video about it from somebody from IBM talking about studying it back in like the 80s or something like that. So this has been around for a very long time.
In that video, did this individual describe what they were studying as AI, like as it is now, or did
So-
they describe it in the context of large language models or a different context?
He actually did a really good job, and I'll have to pull it up and throw it in the show notes. Maybe I'll link to that later. I thought he did a very good job tracing through. He actually started with AI, and then eventually got to large language models, machine learning, deep learning, a bunch of other things.
Well, because that's why I asked, because technically, like,
AI
AI
is
is the
it's an
the
umbrella
umbrella
term.
term,
Yeah.
and all those other things that you just said are the specific type, like quote unquote,
The
types
specific
of
fields
AIs.
underneath
Yeah,
the superset
yeah.
of
Large
that
language
AI.
models, neural networks, machine learning, et cetera, et cetera. Those are different segments of the AI like space,
Yeah.
if you will. So I was just curious because I don't think LLMs in the way that they are imagined today or have been imagined into being today. I don't think that really existed. It like hadn't been didn't really exist or was being worked on in the
It
80s or
did on a
90s.
small scale.
On a small scale, it
On a
did.
very
Okay.
small scale. If you want to look up Markov chains,
Mhm.
MARKOV chains, it's that on a much. It's a very simplified
Yeah, 'cause I
explanation, but
did
it's that
read-
on a much grander scale is what we're working
I
with
did
today.
read some stuff about how like some of the very, very, very base principles of AI as we know it today, like have been around and were worked on back in the 80s and like 70s and 80s.
Well, even if I remember correctly, and anyone, if you know this and I am incorrect at all, please throw in the comments. So I will definitely defer to many others on this. But if I remember correctly, um, Alan Turing actually posited some of the core concepts around AI, especially being able to process vast amounts of information, which in many respects, that's what AI is, processing vast amounts of information.
Yeah.
That is an
I
oversimplification,
mean, hence
but that is a significant part of what
yeah.
is
A
used
lot
for.
of the groundwork was laid, I think, in the 60s and 70s. Like before you even hit like the 80s and 90s, when you have the widespread consumer computers.
Well,
Mhm.
it was development of the mainframe is
Yeah.
what really kind of started. As soon as you went from a single task operation to now you have a large scale machine that can handle multiple operations and tasks at one time, that is where you go from theoretics to now practicality of here's what a machine was capable of, and it was a single focus, single entity device. Now to it is as adds complexity. When you add complexity, you start getting more development on that side and what more capability you can build into it. As soon as you build into more capability, you start building in more efficiencies because you want to do a job, a function, right? And however it completes that job, it's gonna, the first iteration is gonna be probably its least efficient manner. And you want that job now to get more and more efficient as it goes. And as soon as you have the development of the transistor and how that now has really progressed, the computational side exponentially, you put yourself on a chain reaction into as soon as you have the theoretics of this machine now makes my life easier, what else can it do? You're going to end up at a road of where we're kind of at today, no matter what.
Well, and that's kind of, and this is where again, this is the area of research that I did not do was the extensive history on it. But is where I'm curious to know just about the verbiage and the nomenclature, like the things that they were like people that were working on it at that time. Like obviously, I'm sure the term AI was thrown around, but like more specifically, you know, were they calling it machine learning? Were they calling it neural network? Were they like did the terms that we're going to talk about extensively based on like what is going on right now, did those terms always exist back to that point in time, or were they like even referring to it differently? Because like what you described, John, is that's more along the lines of it's advanced and extensive computation. So that's more along the lines of machine learning, correct?
Yes, but machine learning is what before the term AI was properly adopted,
Mm-hmm.
machine learning was the predecessor, like at least the
The
main
generalized
umbrella
term.
marketing term.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Gotcha.
So I was watching another video from an AI expert, and he had an interesting. I didn't follow half of it honestly. So again, I'm still fairly new to this. But one thing he commented on was AI is what we refer to. AI is what we call things that we don't understand yet. LLMs, machine learning, deep learning, we understand that to a degree. So we've given it specific names. AI, we haven't defined it. We haven't necessarily defined that yet. So I thought it
So
was
a buzzword,
exactly,
if you will.
exactly. And
Absolutely.
so real quick before we go any farther, did want to put out a few guardrails and also just set some expectations as far as what you will and won't be hearing. What we won't be discussing are going to be details on how AI works. None of us here are at really a level to go into that too deeply, and we don't have time. That we'd be here way too long, and we all have other things we need to do. So there's that part. We won't be discussing proposed and/or implemented legislation or other regulations. There is, at the time of recording, there's a decent amount of discussion around regulation. There's a decent amount of discussion around legislation, both in the United States plus globally. We're not going to touch on that. That is, again, topics that we would be here way too long, and none of us have any real expertise to offer there. There's a lot of legitimate ethical debates going on around AI. There's going to be one small portion of this I will touch on at the end, and that'll make sense once we get there. But for the most part, again, this won't be the show for that. The intent of this is more along the lines of share a little bit about the history for those of you who don't know it. Obviously, you all know how to use Google. You all know how to use Bing or whatever engine you want to use.
We hope.
We hope. You have access to same AI models we do. That you can also ask questions and it'll give you information. Some of them, if you tell it to, it'll also give you the sources that they're pulling from. So that's also pretty helpful. You are welcome to dig into this into more detail. The focus here is more along the lines of what do we use? How do we use it? Why do we use it? Not just our general opinions. And the hope here is if you've never really dug into it before, to give you places to start. Nothing is going to be exhaustive. I'm sure everyone's going to disagree with at least some of what we're talking about. It's perfectly fine. The intent here is more just like set what we're currently doing with it. So that said, any other comments on the history of AI that anyone would like to touch on? I'll take that as a no. All right, question or discussion. We have some discussion topics. We may touch on all of them. We may touch on only one or two of them. We shall see. First off, which models do you use and what do you use them for? Who would like to start?
I don't use AI.
Okay, that was easy.
I've used ChatGPT twice.
Do you know which version?
I believe I've used it's whatever was free. So I'm pretty sure the first one was 3, and the last one that I used was a few weeks ago. So it's whatever the free version is now.
Gotcha.
Matthew?
I use Perplexity as my platform, I guess. For the most part, they have different models that you can select from. Typically, I'll use Claude, 3.5 right now.
Yeah, I believe so.
That and the Perplexity model. I also have access to, I believe Grok 1 through Perplexity, and then also on X directly. GPT 4, I think 4.0. Let me just pull it up. I'm proud off the top of my head. But yeah, there's a lot of flexibility there. So for just general queries and research and stuff like that, that's my go-to. And then on a more regular basis, what I've been using is GitHub Copilot for work. Which, just as an aside, I really, 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 really dislike how there's Microsoft Copilot and there's GitHub Copilot, but they're both referred to as Copilot.
And aren't they both essentially ChatGPT?
Pretty much.
Enough. They're ChatGPT enough. The underlayer hasn't been fully demined to basically say this is only Microsoft's LLM. It's not. What really differentiates, Copilot from standard ChatGPT and its versions is just the inclusion of its pulling of information from the Graph API and Microsoft's analytics internally inside their infrastructures.
So then, how can is that a trademarking thing? Like, but if it's GitHub Copilot, is it still derived from Microsoft's
So
product?
that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
purely marketing.
Yeah.
Where it is because Microsoft owns GitHub. Now, how the organizations are separated, I don't know. I'm not on the inside. But the idea that they have is that you have a co-pilot. Like the co-pilot is the thing, right?
Ah,
So it's like how generic, AI is. Like this is your co-pilot. This is the AI that helps you do stuff. So it is intended to be a somewhat generic term, but it's just really annoying when you're looking at Microsoft documentation and you don't know off the just at a glance. In some cases, you can't just derive it based on context because they could be talking about Microsoft Copilot or they could be talking about GitHub Copilot. And just that ambiguity really irks me. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
John, how about you?
I use a lot. I use a lot of different models. So currently, right now, what I'm testing with is I use Ollama as my main platform for where I get the majority of my LLMs and models that I use. But right now, I'm testing with DeepSeek R1, mostly because I can't really. I don't have the resources to use the full. It's what, yeah. DeepSeek 671B is the main model that they have. I don't have the resources to be able to load that right now, so I've been using R1. It's been fine. It's very interesting using a LLM and a model of this style where there is clearly some areas of it you can't ask it these types of questions. You can't use these types of prompts with it. But my every day to day that I typically use is just Llama 3. Llama 3 works great. It's lightweight for the most part. Most machines that as long as you have decent specs, you can run it. Now, again, your token output's going to be fully dependent upon um, how much hardware you want to dedicate to it. Are you running it off a CPU? Are you running it off a GPU? And how much VRAM or memory can you throw at it? Things of that nature. But Llama 3, for the most part, it's great. I've really enjoyed it. I've played around with quite a few others. Like I know I've used Mistral. I know I've used Quen and Quen 2. It's just kind of one of those. I really like Ollama as a platform because they're a great job of kind of bringing in a lot of these different models and allowing you to really pull from them, utilize them, kind of just play around with it, see kind of what works, what doesn't, and kind of bolting a few of them together and trying to really kind of feed information from one model into another model to then try to get like some level of either automation or what I've been doing is script creation by itself is basically plugging in. I know this model works great with this type of Python command, taking the output of that Python command and then plugging it into a different model and then having that generate code to be packaged up in multiple different platforms and then send it out that way is it's interesting to do. So if you wanted to unify a lot of your platform and kind of use AI to do your translation layer, which again, code is code. It's either going to be junk or it's going to work.
I mean, it can work and still be junk.
Oh, 100% agree.
Like as a developer, I can tell you that I have written absolute trash, but it worked.
Yeah.
And so it served its purpose.
It's like I'm not a dev. I will write scripts. I'm pretty good at automation, and it's what's been nice is just automating the initial creation of the automation, or like again taking my Python script, having all that be created, and then have that translated into a YAML file, and then using that in multiple different platforms that can accept a YAML file for direct automation is so nice.
YAML is of the devil, but I understand why it exists.
Not of the devil. It's not that hard.
Yep. Tell the listeners what it stands for.
Oh, I don't remember what it stands
It's
for.
yet another
Language?
another markup language. Yeah.
Markup language. Thank you. Yeah.
really?
Yeah, that's what it stands for.
Wow. Just
But then you also have TOML, TOML.
Mhm.
That's like Tom's markup language or something.
Something
it's
like
something
that, yeah.
stupid. Yeah, it's just
the more I
nonsense.
learn
It's
about
better than a
nonsense.
JSON.
The more-
I hate JSONs.
I like JSON
What does JSON stand
as a
for?
data format, but as a configuration format, I'm not a fan. I like my tools where you have an actual programming language that you get to use to configure your software.
JSON is the JavaScript object notation.
Okay, see, that's a normal name.
Yeah,
That's
that
something I
one-
would expect an acronym to stand for.
That
is-
that makes sense.
yeah.
Mhm.
The more I learn about like I don't want to say develop, but
No, it's
coding nomenclature.
it's
and,
nerds
and
naming
acronyms.
stuff.
Yes, it's
That's
the
all it is.
worst. It's horrible. I'd rather delve through like a list of like military acronyms because at least they like they describe a basic thing like what it is.
Well, I
But
mean, you
not
have
a yet another markup language.
I hate it too.
I'm sure
But
that's how the person sounded.
I
when they
hate
made
it for
up.
much better reasons than you do. So
That's fair.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
throw
well,
that
yeah,
out
you
there.
actually know how to use them and know what they do. I don't. I just
YAML's not that bad.
I just mock the existence of them.
It works.
That goes back to it's trash, but it works.
Exactly.
Like there's that.
Yeah, but it's easy for me to be able to again write my script and then have it convert into YAML and then plug it into whatever I'm trying to plug it into, and it's something I understand. It's much easier than having to go through, build the framework in PowerShell, from there having to then go and actually sign the script, take the script from there, then either convert it or have to put it through the wrapper, turn to an MSI, and then send that out wherever it wants to go, and then half the time it doesn't work because an antivirus still kills it.
So, like you were talking about Llama. So Llama is okay. So wait, I thought
So,
Llama was an LLM
So
unto
Yes.
itself.
it is, but so Llama made by Meta, that is their AI platform.
Uh-huh.
Llama is like I don't remember all the versions of Llama. There's many versions of Llama. Those are just different models of the AI and the LLMs and everything that it kind of like interacts with.
But it's okay. But and so the way that you described it sounds like it's almost like a UI that allows you to draw from other
No,
models.
So Olama is a way of running models locally.
Yes.
Okay.
And so with that, you can run multiple models at once
Yeah.
and then feed things back and forth between
Okay.
them.
Correct.
That's cool.
Is it a UI? No, but you can put UIs on top of it to make it easy. I run it on command line because it's just
Of course you do.
There's
well, it's having the UI when I'm trying to do what I'm doing in this specific workflow, it gets in the way. But there are times like again, if you're just using it as essentially a chatbot, oh yeah, there's many different benefits of having the UI there because especially you're wanting to have that experience. Yeah, have a UI. For me, and at least what I want to do, which is just SSH into the machine that has the model onto it, and then immediately start running commands from that window. It's nice not having to deal with the UI, going to the web page, dealing with the problems I sometimes have with those web pages, and just all that mess. It's just for what I want to do and what I'm trying to get out of it, it's fine. But if you're handing that to an average user and say, this is an AI, start asking it questions, they're going to see the blinking cursor and go, what do you mean?
An
what
average
is this?
user,
War games?
Exactly.
An average user or a standard user?
A normie.
So the one I have used the most is Grok 2, and it's more for research purposes as far as asking questions that I want something more concise than digging through Google or whatever. I've also played around with Cursor, and that is a code generator, basically.
It's coming to take
It's-
my job.
Well, no,
Not that version,
'cause
isn't.
That was
what-
for
what-
legal purposes. That was a
Yeah,
joke.
what's the code? What's the coding limit too? They're gonna do like what 130 something lines of code.
Yeah. See the thing about and we can get into this after you guys talk about it, but there are significant limitations to using AI to just build things.
Yes. That is absolutely what I ran into. But I've played around with it. It's a lot of fun. Very interesting. And it helped with a few proofs of concept, at least. So that was useful. All right. For those who have been using, actually, we'll start with Steven on this. 'Cause I'm curious to see what he's going to say. What are one or two areas? The question is, what are one or two areas that the models you use need improvement on? Obviously, so for the three of us that have been using it, we'll go with that. Steven, what's one or two things that you need to see in an AI for you to start using it?
Ooh. Okay. One thing that I would like to see based on my whether they're founded or not are irrelevant. They're just my concerns. I would like to see from a easily accessible platform like free ChatGPT or something like that, a little bit more consideration to anonymity as far as like separating yourself from the platform. Like I get the world we live in. I understand the crap, I've heard it many times in a video today. Not digital capitalism, whatever that's called. Anyway, basically just the the financial model of making money off of people's data. That's just the way of the world. It is what it is. But and so I know that huge part of that is people's personal information, stuff like that. But one of my hesitations has been, um, you know, tying, giving like everyone else, I give my information to a lot of platforms, just whether I like it or not, because you don't have much of a
Willingly
choice.
or not.
Right? Yeah, and it's I've come to terms with that. It's fine, but this is one of those things. Uh, Not necessarily out of the fear of the sci-fi ramifications of it, although I do think of those. But just the general ramifications of I'm giving my personal email address and the data, the free data that comes along with that, and stuff like that to a program that is specifically built, or a thing that's specifically built to compute at astronomical levels and rates and deduce things and store things and distribute information at an astronomical rate. I'm just not comfortable with that. So, like I've recently decided I was going to run a few things by Chat GPT again, and I thought I was hopeful that it's like, oh, you can now just go to it and it's like a Google page. It's like literally it's presented like the Google homepage, where it's just ask a question. I was like, oh, cool. And I did ask it a question. It spit out a thing, and it was perfect. Is exactly what I was looking for. Um, and then I went to ask it another question. It's like, you need to create an account. It's like, okay, seriously, like, it's just one of those that it's that whole.
It's like the New York Times.
If you're gonna
3 free
offer it for
articles
free,
kind of
offer it
thing.
for free. Like,
Yeah.
don't be hypocritical about it. Like, if you're gonna do that, fine. If you're not gonna offer it for free, okay, that's fine. I understand. Then don't just pick one. Quit with this whole you get the first one for free, but then you got to pay for it. The
That's how they get you hooked.
drug dealer mentality over
Mhm.
here. But I guess back to your question. At least you know, I think that it's at least watered down the account creation component to where it's like just enough information to to charge your credit card or whatever, for you to pay for the service, or just to have uh a dedicated, because I do somewhat understand like if this is the reasoning where okay, we don't want this just blanket, anyone can go to this URL and type in whatever they want and it does the thing and spits it out, because obviously with bots running amok, and so I mean that could cause issues. So they want to verify that it's a human being, a dedicated user who is the one interacting with the model. At least that's my assumption of one of the reasons. But but it's like sign in with your Google account or sign in with your Facebook account or sign in, give us all this information. It's like, why do you need all this? I don't want you. I don't feel like you need all this to just verify I'm a human interacting with your free model. This is the free tier, not the non-paid tier. So that is a thing that I would like to see if it wasn't so obvious that this was the same thing as signing up for any other website that's going to collect that is going to collect your data and disperse it. I would be more comfortable with it.
Yeah, but you always have to follow the rule of thumb. If it's free and they're not accepting anything else from it, that means you're the product.
Not sure. Nope. And I understand that. Just why I don't use it.
So
'Cause I'm not
fair.
gonna pay for it.
from a practical solution standpoint, I know you have a gaming rig. What kind of GPU are you rocking?
I got me it's an AMD
RX.
it's an RX
69.
6950.
Nice. How much
X.
of your? That's like 16 gig at
X.
least.
Yeah, it's 16 gigs.
No. I've got the
The 24.
I
gig?
got the 6950. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I sent a link in the chat and we can put it in the
A
description.
water cooled 6950.
But LM Studio is like the perfect piece of software for you because it will let you run the models locally. But unlike John's solution, which I am partial to, but unlike John's solution, you can be a grug-brained normie and just click buttons and make it do the thing instead of
Yeah.
having to
I like that.
instead of having to download everything yourself. You could run definitely like Llama and some of those if
You
you
can
wanted to
run
run
like Llama 3, like some versions of Llama 3.1. Like you can't run the full parameter because like I'm actually looking at it. The full parameter is a 405B, which is 231 gigs. Which so when you're looking at models to run,
Mhm.
you look at the size, and that size is what you have to load into memory. So when you're running it off a CPU, you run it into your CPU's memory. But if you run it off a GPU, it's your GPU's memory.
Mhm.
So when you're looking at, hey, I want to try out this model, you have to have that available memory to actually have
does
the
it-
model exist in while you're running that instance.
Is it volatile though? Like, is it?
Yeah.
Are you? It's just so when you open the software, it's loading all that into
when you
VRAM?
actually initiate the model? Yes.
Okay. So then, when you close out of the software, you turn it off.
You dismount it.
You dismount it.
Yeah.
But does it then like save a cache up version of what was in
Yeah,
VRAM?
you download
So
the
you-
model itself,
yeah.
and then like it's stored like on a drive.
It's-
but
it's
then when
just
you
like-
when you load the model, you want to start interacting and using it.
Mhm.
It then loads that into memory.
It's the same thing as like downloading a game
Yeah.
through Steam, and then you're playing the game, and then you
Okay.
close the game, and it's not running,
It
but
has
it's
a
still
save file,
still-
if you will.
kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the nice thing about LM Studio is that for all of those little caveats, like, does my GPU have enough VRAM? You know, can I completely offload this? What does that look like? It tells you
Yeah.
right away. Like, you can fully offload this model onto your thing. You don't have to go to Hugging Face, which is the big repository
Yep.
for all the models. That's where they all get uploaded. You don't have to go there, find the model you want, download it, and then load it in. It's got an interface built into the app that you just search for what you want, download it. You can fiddle with it, so it's got a nice little menu that says, "Hey, here's the different the settings. You can change the temperature, you can change the weights, stuff like that." And it is a very nice, user friendly.
Because I will
experience.
also admit, as I alluded to earlier, some of my concerns are also just they're the paranoid variety, and like one of my initial, like with ChatGPT, there was the whole account information part. There
Yeah.
was the like I don't want you to have my information just in general. But to the degree where it's like I don't even want like their servers to have registered that my public IP address has interacted with
Well,
them.
there
Like,
are ways we can obfuscate the public IP
No, I
address.
know, and that's what I said. Again, the times that
No, word from our
A-
sponsor.
the first time
Hostile VPN.
the first time I interacted with ChatGPT, I would only do it at work, and it was an anonymous account, and it was on my work computer. It was coming. I was like, hey, I'm comfortable with this. I don't care if I give them my work's public IP. I'm not worried about that. It doesn't have my account, my name, nothing, and it's going through another public IP. No worries. And then when I did it at home, I literally spun up an Ubuntu VM on my
I'm
hosted home.
I'm so proud of
I
him.
installed PIA and turned it on, and then accessed it, and then created a fake account with a fake name and everything. So like that's the level of, I mean, yes, I would say it's probably qualified as paranoia, but it's just that whole like I'm not comfortable enough with even the overhead idea of all this to be like I don't want it to have any, as much as I can help. And because again,
And that's
I
fair.
also don't believe that any precautions I've taken probably worked. Like I
So
imagine that
So-
some little
it's-
tidbit has
it's help. So it's one of those things where going through that, there is a level of obfuscation there, and it's one of those things where depending on, for all of us here, for at least most of us here, and then for anyone listening, or most of you listening, if certain groups are looking for you, they're gonna find you.
oh yeah, sure.
But if you're just trying to keep yourself somewhat less trackable to the general bots that are mining everything right now, everything Steven just laid out, it's a good idea. And it
Mostly
also
the VPN thing.
and
The
it-
VPN's like the big thing most people could use and be good. It's not perfect. It's not the end all be all solution by any means, but
and there's plenty of bad
helps a
actors
lot.
out there that what was just listed out works perfectly fine against. So
but at the same time, I will contrast that by saying, I have at work and outside the work, heard some of the things that John has used it for, and some of our other coworkers that I talk to on a regular basis. Some of the stuff that they use it for, and it's like it, it's really helpful. It is a good tool, and I mean a couple the times that I used, I mean it's uh I know this is not quite accurate now. It was probably a bit more accurate last year. But for a glorified search engine, it's pretty good. Like the couple of things that I prompts that I put in that were more search engine-y, things that you would put into Google, uh, the results that I got back were more thorough than anything I've ever gotten from Google.
And it's way better than Gemini.
Really?
Oh, it's way better.
Yeah. But
And because the great thing is like for what you're doing it for research, also add into your prompt, like you can request the AI to actually cite its sources and like bring all that to the forefront of
yeah,
where
I
did
remember you
it
saying that.
where
Yeah.
did it pull the information? It'll give you the article or it'll give you like here's on the internet where I found this, and it's like it's awesome.
Also, everyone remember to say please and thank you to your AI.
That's
for
what
future
I like
reference.
about the about Perplexity is that they do bring all of the sources to the forefront without you having to ask, and it's always there too.
Yep.
So as long as you have a they're called threads there, but as long as you have the thread open, and you have it saved and you haven't deleted or anything, you will have access to all of those resources. So it's a great, even if you don't trust the output of the LLM, which in most cases you should give it a few grains of salt.
Always.
You have those extra. This is like what we were talking about last year when I was talking about Bing. That was why I used it over ChatGPT, is because it gave me sources, and then I can go and decide. All right, this is the summarization. I get that. That's nice, but then I can go deeper and find where's this information coming from. Can I trust it? And then I'll do something with it.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads into like my biggest gripe and like what I think the biggest improvement for AI needs to happen like relatively soon is accuracy. The biggest thing that I've had the issues with like in what I've done at work and on the personal time and all that is just factual accuracy for the information that's providing there because there's so many times where it gets the core concept right up until a point where either this information that it pulled was stale, it's no longer relevant, or it's flat out wrong because it guessed and it doesn't know. And there wasn't any way for it to go and do its proper checks and balances to verify this information was correct before it provided it to me, which is why we always say is like, look, just like when you were first getting into development or IT and you found a random script or a random piece of software online, you don't just blindly accept it and just start running it in production. You have to go and verify it. You have to make sure it's known good. It's the same thing when you ask these prompts and get the responses from AI is you can't blindly accept it because it's not always correct.
So, Matthew, did you give something that you wanted to see improvement on?
I think for me, it's more of just like waiting for the efficiency to be there. So because like right now, you do have to have a decent set of hardware to run even the smallest models, right? And so part of that is probably going to be the way that models are designed and run is going to be lead towards more efficiency, and then part of that is this is going to just going to be another hardware leap where we're going to have specific chips like the NPUs and stuff like that that you see coming out. Where there's a specific piece of hardware, kind of like we have the GPU for graphics. You're going to have the AIPU or whatever that is the NPU right now, the neural processing unit, as that's the thing that handles the AI. So it's a little bit of both. Where I'm expecting gains on the software side of things and gains on the hardware side of things. It's just going to take time.
That's actually a quick question that I have because this gets into something that I'm looking to do here in the hopefully in the near future, if my wallet will let me.
You're going to buy a Raspberry Pi and start running
No.
AI. Oh,
Yeah, he's gonna start running Tiny Llama.
nice.
No. But it kind of to that point, I am going to be getting a Google Coral device in the near future because I'm going to be integrating it into a Frigate install for NVR and the cameras and stuff. I want to have a setup to where I can have the AI object recognition and filtering of notifications and stuff like that. And Frigate specifically uses the Coral devices for that, offloads that to
Frigate is a cool name.
It really is.
And it's a if
They have a
you
sweet logo too.
if you've looked into that project, that is a awesome NVR project.
Yeah.
Is it good enough for your business?
What does
I
NVR
mean,
stand for?
What?
NVR?
Yeah, NVR.
What does that stand for?
something video recorder,
Oh
network
god.
video recorder.
Network video recorder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So any
So security cameras.
Yeah,
camera
security
system
cameras. Yeah,
that
okay.
you've seen at a business, the box
I
that
thought
records the
that's what it
video,
was,
that's
yeah.
the NVR. So
Nice.
Yeah.
this is just I'm gonna have this allows you to have software running on a VM or in a container that is the NVR software on your infrastructure, and then you
Mhm.
just have a data store that it points to, and that's where it stores the video and all that stuff. And then you just have all your cameras on the network run through that NVR. It processes the the video, stores it, does all the things.
And your cameras are not going to be exposed to the web, right?
No, of course
Good.
not. Absolutely not. Um, but anyway, so along those, what I was getting to was, um, the Coral devices are it is that's what they are. It is an AI processing
Yeah.
chip. They're small. They have a flash drive model. They have a little the small M.2 drive size
Mhm.
model, and I think they do have like a mid size.
They do. They have
They
a
don't have the
2088, I
yeah,
believe.
yeah, it's not the full 2090 something or whatever,
Yeah.
like the long, like what an M.2 drive normally
it's-
is, but like the half size, that's the biggest one I think they
Yeah,
have.
the standard drive capacity size.
But anyway, I wonder if that is something you could integrate now, and like you could direct
There are products out
yes,
there.
but
like your
it's
LLM. Could you direct it to that for the
yeah,
actual processing?
but so there's two limiting factors there. Is essentially like you even if you didn't have enough space to really like properly mount the model like to what you want to run it against, some of them will let you, and it just takes longer to process. Like so, when you are actually submitting a prompt and then getting the response back, the time from when your prompt submitted to the response is completed is a token. It counts in tokens,
Okay,
and tokens per second is how you determine like either how efficient or inefficient that model is running. And so, like again, if you're only getting like 0.03 tokens a second, that's horrendous. It's terrible. Like you really want for like the average, like if you want to use it as a chatbot, really 10 tokens a second is fine. Like between 8 and 10, it's not going to be like instantaneous, but it's going to get you most of your information at a decent rate.
okay,
But like for what you're running as, it really kind of depends on the model you're running and what you're expecting to get out of it. A lot of people are, especially since it's still kind of expensive to run a lot of these models. Like again, DeepSeek, its R1 models, like its 7B is ridiculously efficient. It's like something like 4.6 gigs, and like you can run that thing almost off anything. It's great. And there's open versions now that have been reverse engineered. So if you don't trust running DeepSeek, there are other ways you can run a similar type of model with its efficiencies without having to deal with all of that more political side of it that we're not going to get into.
So, from my end, the biggest improvement I'm looking for is a way to run models and or models themselves. And again, I don't know enough about it yet to be able to say this and say it intelligently, but that have a focus of the user is the person using it. The client is the person using it, not whoever you're selling the data to. And right now, AI is predominantly used by random people that are just kind of curious or nerds. And both of them don't frankly care that they are the product. You typically see a bit of a difference with programs where the program itself is the product, not you. And so that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. Now, last two questions are going to be going to kind of combine them. What kind of jobs are we currently seeing in the AI space, and what kind of recommendations do we have for somebody to start studying who are interested in a job in the AI space?
So there's a couple like from the job side. Again, I'm not an expert on that end, but I do know of there's been a large expanse in the data center side of bringing in more administrators of people to actually build out the systems and maintain basically these AI dedicated servers. And what I've also starting to see here in the Great Shift is a lot of companies now are actually starting to not only bring things on-prem back from the cloud, they're starting to build out their own on-prem data centers to run local AI. So when it comes to, hey, what job opportunities are there? I would say is it's not massive on there's good development side. Obviously there's availability there. From the hosting side, it's I I don't really know, but I would say in the near future, definitely I could see that there's going to be a pretty large gap in the need that's going to open up of I'm a business. I don't trust, giving all of my company information to ChatGPT or to Meta or to any of the large organizations that are currently hosting these models. I want to run this myself. So you're going to see kind of the shift of how we saw where sysadmins were now starting to take on and adapt to the cloud. You're going to see that same type of shift of those older sysadmins or those new up and coming ones shifting into, well, now I'm going to be administrating, the servers for the local AI. I think is where you're gonna start seeing that new growth opportunity.
Do you think that do you think there's a scenario in the future where Microsoft will surrender some control uh, of Copilot to allow for local hosting of it for a tenant?
So that is a excellent question, and I will say I don't know because with Microsoft, you really don't know their next move because they are always looking for what's the next opportunity for us to really grow, expand, and make more money. Um,
No, surely not.
so on that front, locally hosted Copilot, I might see where like they may offer something like under your subscription where you can run a small hosted version like that's baked into Windows, but I wouldn't say like probably beyond that. Uh,
Even if they did, you would have a local Copilot sync agent
What do you mean by
for
local?
hyper. So basically, where instead of your because the
Like on-prem or in the cloud?
on-prem,
On-prem.
yeah.
Okay.
So
That's what
literally,
local
yeah,
means.
yeah.
On-prem.
So
and that's where it's just with their
Well, that's
current
all. I'm just making sure that I
yeah,
understand that
yeah.
it's
that's
just
what we're
with their
talking about.
current business model, especially with again Copilot now is being basically built and managed inside of their 365 umbrella. They don't want anything brought back on prem. They want everything in their data centers and their control so they can charge a subscription fee for it, and then eventually probably another dedicated license. So why would they offer you to be able to run that locally right now when it doesn't make sense? It's not going to make them as much money.
I think you can
Right.
run stuff like you can pick which models you want to run on Azure too.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
So you're not
Well,
just
and
tied
that's just
to
that's what I was
Copilot.
thinking. It's more so. It's more so. This would be, I think, would apply more if given a certain market shift, given a certain, uh, consumer backlash over anything,
Yeah.
uh, where because right now, my understanding, the way that Copilot in the sense of like true, the full fat Copilot, it is obviously the actual language model and the storage of all the metrics surrounding it is on Azure data center
Yeah.
infrastructure. But it is a thing that you turn on in your tenant in your 365 environment, and it connects to your Graph API, the thing that connects all the things in the tenant, all the different parts of 365, and then as you interact with it, as you use it, or you go to the areas of Copilot parts of different apps and such, it draws from all the areas of your tenant based on configurations, and then just tries to make things more efficient or answer questions and prompts and things like that. So as John has these major concerns, and I'm sure most administrators that are worth their salt have these concerns. It's you are obviously your 365 environment is also hosted on these data centers, in
Mhm.
these cloud data centers. But you at least have the guarantee from Microsoft that your stuff's isolated. Like you have your tenant, that's your domain, all your stuff stays there. Well, it's not like, I don't believe that the way it works is you enable Copilot and you get your own Copilot LLM that interacts with your great Graph API. Microsoft just has the Copilot LLM. It has the Copilot infrastructure. And then that gets aligned into your Graph API and gets aligned into everybody's Graph API. And you have to rely on Microsoft and their will that all of that's not communicating in any way, shape, or form, that it is
That it's
isolated to
actually
you,
siloed. Yeah.
and B, well, that they're not harvesting any information from that, and then just the worry of threats and intrusions based on that connection. So where my thought came from was, I'm curious if there's ever a scenario of whatever origin where they would say, okay, fine, 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 fine. You don't like, everyone hates this. We're not making money because people aren't buying it, whatever. Our forcefulness isn't working. We will now offer it in that first example I've described, where not everybody's going to connect to our central model. I could totally be botching that description, but for all intents and purposes, our central location for the model, we are going to basically, you have your tenant, you pay for the licensing for Copilot. We then spin up a, infrastructure, whatever. We spin up a copy of the model that we have rights to actively update. It's our model, but so we can update it. But this belongs to you, quote unquote, and it ties into your Graph API, but only that model does. So basically, every tenant that has this enabled has its own model. And if you choose, you can either run that model in our data center on the cloud, or you could download it to your infrastructure and have it in a hybrid environment where the model and the data actually does live on your infrastructure and interacts with your cloud infrastructure through hybrid, like InterSync or something like that. That's the thought experiment I'm running in my head, and I was curious to
Current
hear your
Microsoft,
thoughts. Not a chance in
there's no way. Future Microsoft, we don't know.
Yeah.
But right now, no, there's no way. But to kind of circle back and answer the second half of the question of like, what do you recommend someone to like study for this? It's quite literally like, go with the hardware you have right now. Go download one of these models. Go start playing with it. Go start learning how do you actually build out and develop your prompts. There's tons and tons of good guides like on YouTube and on GitHub that you can really start doing this right now. You can start with a Raspberry Pi. You can use your laptop, desktop. It doesn't really matter. There's so much opportunity, and that's only going to continue to grow and be more accessible to everyone. Because again, this is the growing market that the entire industry is moving into. We're already seeing this early in 2025, like part of the bubble has already collapsed with DeepSeek and now a few other open models that have come out that have drastically decreased the hardware requirements to actually run these types of AIs. You're only going to further benefit from it if you just start using it now. Like it can be as simple of asking for a recipe or asking for a workout routine or just plugging in a question or a problem that you've run into and just seeing what it says.
I'll second that wholeheartedly, because if you're anything like me, just one of my excuses for not doing certain things in life has just been, I'm one of those that it's hard for me to uh coming up with or having a recipe, and wanting to like meal prep, and it's like, oh, I want to eat this kind of food, but I don't have any, I don't even have the mindset for, well, here's some recipes I could use, and like here's a go-to website where you can get some recipes, and like here's what the grocery list is going to look like, and here's the days that I'm going to go to the grocery store. Like, just that whole type of mindset and thought process doesn't exist in my head. Horrible at it. Exercising, same thing. It's like, I know exercise would be good, and sometimes I have the desire to say like, yeah, I need to go exercise, but like, for it to be effective, I don't know a ton about exercise. I don't have the desire to like research that. It's just not. It doesn't interest my brain at all. And so for people like that and things like that, if there's something that is in that general vein of activity or thing you want to do, and you just don't know how to get started, I would say, yeah, these AI models, just any pick one, are going to be really good at giving you a direction to go. Because, for example, exercise. That was one of the the most recent things I did. Is I asked it, I told it, um, what I was interested to do. I kind of gave it an idea of like my physical state, like what I can do right now. I think I basically asked it, can you give me, is what you suggested, John, is can you give me a 7-day calisthenic exercise routine based on body weight and what did I say? Body weight and low impact. And in like 3 seconds, it spit out exactly what I was looking for. I've done a couple of days of it. I haven't been very good at actually following. You actually have to do the exercise part for it to help. If y'all didn't know that.
You mean I can't just ask the LLM to solve all my problems and then leave it at
that
that?
actually does. Yeah, there's that other like actual doing it component to it.
I mean,
as well.
just wait till you get the neural link in, and then that could
Hey,
potentially
we're
do
gonna-
it
See,
for
that's
you.
not what marketing told me.
We're gonna
Marketing
leave
told me
that
that-
one for another time. But anyway,
Marketing told me it was going to solve all my problems for me.
but the thing that it spit out was basically perfect, and I followed a couple of them. And it was like, oh wow, this is doing the thing I wanted it to do. It's it's not too intense. It's something I did in my living room floor, and it's if I'll actually go and do it, like I'm sure it will be very effective. And one thing I would kind of like though is to the point of possibly having like my own AI doing the AI thing at what I'm a level that I'm comfortable with is being able to uh get a prompt, put out a prompt like that, get the result, and then 3 months down the road, I've exhausted that exercise routine. Like I feel like I want to move past that, going back to the same chat, the same prompt, and building on top of that, saying, being able to prompt it and say, okay, now give me, like it knows the answer it gave before. Now give me an exercise routine with an adjustment, like to say, I like this part of it, but can you make it now include kettlebells or something like that? And then it be able to build. Obviously, if you're using the free version of anything online, like you're not going to get that because it's not storing your past, unless you have an account and you pay for it and do all that stuff. But it doesn't have that past context to build off of. So that would be a reason that I'd be interested in maybe doing one of the things that y'all suggested.
Matthew, you had something?
So backing up to the what are some jobs in AI, or I guess in my case, what are jobs that can use AI, and what would I recommend studying? To echo John, definitely just play with it, download it. Like we talked about last year in our advice for high schoolers like wanting to get into IT. Tinker with it. Get the tool in your hands and start just hitting stuff with it. That's the best way
Break
that
it.
you're going
Make
to
sure
learn. Yeah.
have it have an existential crisis. I've done that a couple of times. It is hilarious.
And then as for a developer specific thing, like if you want to go into software development, if you've heard that the world is ending and then we're all going to be replaced by AI, that's not the case.
Very much not.
I
Based
can
on the
tell you
code that
that.
I've seen, no.
But what it is going to do is it's not going to be the death of the junior developer, but it is going to raise the bar for what a junior developer needs to be able to do to get into the space. Because if all you can do is what the AI can do, but the AI can probably do it faster, what's the point of hiring you?
Yeah.
So in this case, you still need to learn the fundamentals. You need to understand the fundamentals. But on top of that, you need to learn the bigger picture stuff, the things that the AI can't do, like designing the architecture and then making sure all the pieces fit together, learning how to deal with legacy systems, like especially if you want to go into a big corporate environment, chances are 9 times out of 8, you're going to be dealing with some massive legacy system that the AI is not going to be able to comprehend all at once.
And maybe actually understand what the red squiggly line actually means.
Yeah. Like there is definitely space available for the junior developer, but the bar is being raised, and that would be my thing is that if there's any, for whatever reason, junior developers that decided to listen to this, don't settle. Like keep learning, keep pushing forward, and try to be better than the LLM at the simple things. And then move past the simple things too. Don't stop there. Don't settle for like, okay, somebody can give me a task and I can like, I'm a code monkey. I can just go bang on the keyboard and take care of that task. You need to be able to do more than just that.
And for businesses that potentially listening out there, AI is a tool, not an employee.
Amen. I don't think anybody's going to hear that. We're preaching to the choir, but we can say we said it.
I said to say it.
So one thing that I wanted to touch on is there's, as of the time of recording, that there's been massive marketing around to what Matthew mentioned. You know, AI is just going to destroy all these different industries, yada yada yada. As John mentioned, you know, there's also significant push around a lot of companies to use to replace people. It's a tool like anything else, and the thing that I would recommend if you want to get into this, yes, play around with it, but also both this and in any other tech, find a problem and use this to solve it. And if it doesn't get solved with this, cool, that's okay. Don't let the hype scare you of, oh, there's just nothing you can do anymore. That's not the case at all. There's always going to be room for non-AI, and I actually do think that we're going to see in the next few years a huge marketing of created without AI. I think that's going to very much become a thing.
Thank you, Nathan. Steven, close us out.
Well, thank you all for joining us on the Hostility in the Morning podcast. If you stayed this long and like what you heard, leave a comment and let us know. You can also hit us up on X, formerly known as the platform Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or info@hostilityinthemorning.com. We upload every other Tuesday real early on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. If you want a one-stop shop for everything hostile, you can find everything at hostilityinthemorning.com. And remember, have a hostile morning.